Good evening. I'm Shannon O'Connell. It's February 7th, and you're watching DIS News. With me today are Brittany Murphy with the weather and Susanna May with our sports report. What do you have for us today, Susanna?
An update from the Sochi Olympics.
And Brittany with the weather?
Some rain, some clouds, and an update from home.
We are starting out with today's top story. We are starting out with today's top story. This past Thursday, Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs, Victoria Nuland, apologized to EU officials for profane comments she made in a private phone call. Nuland was speaking over the phone to Jeffrey Pyatt, the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, when she said, quote, "Fuck the EU." The phone line was intercepted and the conversation leaked online by the Russian government on Thursday, just as Nuland landed in Ukraine to talk to the president. Nuland's comment was referring to Europe's lack of action in response to the protests in Ukraine. Many took offense to the crudeness of her statement after the call was posted on YouTube. In terms of U.S. economy, the release of the Labor Department's January jobs report today will likely raise hope among Americans. In December, the unemployment rate stood at 6.7%, the lowest since 2008. Based on the fact that payrolls doubled between December and January, economists are hopeful that more jobs were created in this month as well, resulting in an even lower unemployment rate. Despite this increase, New York-based economist Michael Gapin remains uncertain as to how today's report will predict unemployment in upcoming years. Gapin nonetheless agrees that the unemployment rate will continue to drop throughout 2014. From job prospects for us students soon to enter the workforce, let us go to Brittany with the weather in Copenhagen.
Thanks, Shannon. Today in Copenhagen, we are going to see light showers. The high is 41 degrees Fahrenheit with a low of 35 degrees Fahrenheit. There is a 90% chance of rain with winds coming out of the south at 23 miles per hour. Now let's take a look at the following week. For tomorrow, we are looking at a high of 39 degrees Fahrenheit with a low of 35 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to stay in the 30s for the remainder of the week, but we'll drop down by the end of the next 5 days. In general, the week is looking pretty mild with little rain and a 70% chance of rain on Monday. Now, you all may be wondering about the weather back at home. As many are growing anxious for the start of spring, the abundance of snow is helpful for jobless New Yorkers. Currently, more than 1,500 unemployed men and women have found jobs cleaning up the streets. Residents are looking positively on the new job source and find the momentary employment to be a refreshing change of pace. As quoted by Mr. Velazquez, a married father of 2, "Right now with this economy, you need a little extra thing coming to you. Sometimes your paycheck is just not enough." Well, there you have it. The cold weather is finally showing its silver lining, so let it snow, New York. As the opening ceremonies are beginning, let's take a look at the weather predictions. The forecast predicts minimal rain for the next week, and the overall weather is dry and mild. Very promising as the Winter Games are starting. Now back to you, Shannon.
A new Danish sexual education campaign is now targeting kindergarten students. Although sexual education has been mandatory in Denmark since 1970, sex ed usually begins in 2nd grade. On the other side of the world, schools in the United States typically begin sex ed in 5th grade. Let's take it to the streets to see what people think.
So I don't know if you've heard, but a new Danish sexual education campaign is now targeting kindergarteners. Do you think that's too young to start sexual education?
Yeah.
Too young?
Yeah.
What do you think the right age would be?
About 10, 11, 12.
10, 11. Do you remember when you started sexual education?
Many years ago.
Many years ago. I don't know if you've heard, but a new Danish sexual education campaign is now targeting kindergarteners. Do you think that's too early for sex ed in kindergarten?
Of course.
I think it's a bit too early.
Yeah, I agree. A bit too early, but it's good they know about sex.
Good that they know about it. Now, what do you think the negative implications are for starting so early?
For kids having sex, that's very inappropriate.
No, not having the education, like the education of sex.
They should know about that.
They shouldn't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's good that they get to know it, but I think it's a bit too early to start there.
Yeah, it's a bit too early. I don't know. It's just
whatever
weird.
they say.
Whatever they say. No, not too early.
You just have to tell them that they understand it, not like you and I. For children.
Yes.
Just tell them about it.
Just tell them about it. Now, do you think there's any negative implications of starting so early?
No.
No. Do you remember when you started sex ed?
Please.
Do you remember when you started? What grade did you start sex ed? Do you remember?
15.
15, so that's kind of late compared to the kindergarteners.
It's too late. I wish I had known something about it before, maybe.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Any other comments about that?
I wish my parents had told, or my teachers has told me about something that I know what it was.
There you go.
I was too young. I should have known better.
Gotcha. There we go. There we have it. So maybe it's not too early to start sex ed in kindergarten. Back to you guys.
Nightmare in Sochi for a favorite Olympic team. The Jamaican bobsled team lost their luggage en route to Sochi, preventing them from training with their competitors. While the sled arrived in Russia, the blades, clothing, and other vital equipment were lost in transit. Driver Winston Watts, a three-time Olympian, is frustrated by this misfortune. However, the team spirit has not been hindered. Watts is confident that the team will be able to practice despite the setbacks. This crisis contributes to the underdog status of the Jamaican bobsled team. The unlikely team first competed in the 1988 Olympics, inspiring the cult favorite film Cool Runnings. This year, the team initially could not afford to go to the games, but in an overwhelming show of support, they were able to raise the funds in donations. I am sure that fans are wishing them luck. And now back to you, Shannon.
In entertainment news, the Justin Bieber saga continues. Earlier this week, while en route to the Super Bowl, the embattled young pop star had yet another brush with authorities. Sources say that the airline crew experienced firsthand the consequences of Bieber's debauchery. Due to the high levels of marijuana smoked by Bieber and his posse, which included his father, Jeremy Bieber, the airplane pilots were forced to wear oxygen masks to avoid getting high. When asked to stop smoking, the star refused. Beyond this, Bieber was reportedly acting abusive to the flight attendant. His behavior reached such a point that the woman was forced to hide in the cockpit. Upon landing, the jet was inspected and no further drugs were found. Additionally, the flight crew refused to press charges. Who knows what lies next for the troubled teen? That was DIS News for today. Thanks for watching.